You've seen your own face today, probably more than once. But for over 99% of human history, that never happened. No mirrors, no still water most days, no glass. For 300,000 years, humans walked this earth having no real idea what their own face looked like. So how did they know if they even had one worth showing? Today we're talking about something you've probably never thought about, because it's too obvious to question. We look in mirrors every single day. Bathroom, car, phone camera. It's automatic. But strip that away and something strange happens to the human mind. In this video, you'll find out how ancient humans figured out what they looked like using nothing but shadows and puddles. You'll learn why some anthropologists think self-recognition changed human behavior forever. And at the end, we'll get to the one experiment that proves even animals struggle with this, and what it says about us. Let's start simple. Before glass mirrors, the only way to see your reflection was still water. A pond, a puddle after rain, maybe a calm river at dawn. Sounds easy, right? It's not. Wind ripples the surface, light distorts the image. And early humans weren't exactly hanging around ponds waiting to stare at themselves. They were hunting, running, surviving. A reflection in water was rare, blurry, and honestly, kind of useless for actual detail. Here's the twist, though. Some researchers believe this made early humans more focused on how others saw them, not how they saw themselves. Think about it. If you can't check your own face, you rely completely on the reactions of people around you. A grimace, a stare, a laugh. That became the mirror. Polished obsidian, volcanic glass, is one of the earliest known reflective surfaces humans deliberately used, dating back thousands of years. But it was rare, expensive, and mostly reserved for the wealthy or powerful. For everyone else, water or nothing at all. So picture this, an entire tribe of people who've never truly seen their own face, not once. That's not a minor detail. That's a completely different relationship with identity than we have today. Here's where it gets weird. Self-recognition isn't automatic. It's a skill your brain has to develop. There's a famous test called the mirror test, used on animals and toddlers. Researchers put a mark on the subject's face without them knowing, then show them a mirror. If the subject touches their own face where the mark is, that means they understand. That reflection is me. Human toddlers usually don't pass this test until around 18 months old. Before that, they think the reflection is another baby. Now scale that up. If a modern toddler with mirrors everywhere still takes over a year to understand, that's me. Imagine an ancient human who might go their entire life without a clear reflection. Some anthropologists argue this delayed or weakened a strong sense of individual self-image and instead pushed early humans toward group identity. Tribe first, self second. You weren't you based on your face. You were you based on your role, your actions, your place in the group. That's a completely different psychological foundation than the one we live with today, where we check our reflection sometimes 20, 30 times a day without even noticing. Now here's where it gets even more interesting, because we're not the only species this test has been done on. Dogs fail the mirror test almost every time. So do most cats. They either ignore the reflection completely or treat it like a rival animal, barking or hissing at the stranger in the glass. But a small group of animals actually pass it. Chimpanzees, elephants, dolphins, magpies, one of the only birds known to pass. So what separates them from dogs and cats? Researchers believe it comes down to social complexity. Animals that live in tight social groups that need to track their own status among others tend to develop stronger self-recognition. Which brings us back to early humans. We were extremely social. Tribes, hierarchies, alliances, rivalries. If social complexity is the key ingredient for self-recognition, then even without mirrors, the human brain may have been building the capacity to understand self long before we ever had glass to prove it. In other words, We didn't need mirrors to develop self-awareness. We needed each other. So when did this actually change? Glass mirrors as we know them didn't become common until relatively recently in human history. Widespread only a few hundred years ago, once manufacturing made them affordable. Before that, mirrors were a luxury item, something only the rich could regularly access. And historians have noted something fascinating. As mirrors became common, self-portraits exploded. Personal grooming became more detailed. Fashion became more individualized. People, for maybe the first time in mass numbers, could obsess over their own face, which raises an uncomfortable question. Is our modern obsession with appearance, selfies, filters, constant mirror checking, actually a very new human behavior? Something that would have been completely foreign, maybe even bizarre, to 99% of the humans who ever lived? Our ancestors weren't insecure about their looks in the way we are. They physically couldn't be. You can't obsess over something you can't see. But here's the part that actually stops me in my tracks. Some researchers believe that because ancient humans couldn't clearly see their own face, they built their entire sense of identity around something completely external. How they were treated by others, not what they looked like, how people reacted to them. Think about what that means. Your worth, your identity, your entire sense of self wasn't something you could check in a mirror and privately judge. It was constantly, publicly negotiated, through eye contact, tone of voice, body language, laughter, silence. There was no private validation, no quiet moment alone with a mirror, reassuring yourself. Every ounce of self-image came from other people, in real time, out loud. We live in a world obsessed with how we look to ourselves. Ancient humans lived in a world entirely built on how they were seen by others. And honestly, that might explain a lot about how tightly early human tribes had to function, because when you can't check yourself, the group becomes the only mirror you'll ever have. So next time you glance in a mirror, brushing your teeth, checking your outfit, whatever it is, remember, that small automatic habit is one of the newest behaviors in the entire history of our species. For almost all of human existence, people never truly knew what they looked like. They knew who they were only through the eyes of everyone around them. Makes you wonder, if you suddenly lost every mirror, every reflective surface tomorrow, would you still know who you are? Let me know in the comments. Do you think you'd feel more like yourself without a mirror or completely lost? If this made you rethink something you do every single day without noticing, hit subscribe. There's a lot more of human history hiding in plain sight.